Good evening, and welcome to the Miracle of Prosperity here on the New Thought Media Network. I'm your host, the Reverend Dr. Jim Webb, author of The Soul of Prosperity, as well as 30 P's to Prosperity, Prosperity from A to Z, and Creating Your Self-Manifesting Vision Board, and author of the soon-to-be released book, Forgive Your Way to Prosperity. It's an honor and a pleasure to be here tonight. Every Sunday night at 8, we get together and we talk about prosperity. We look at ways that we can remove barriers to the prosperity that already exists, and we look at spiritual tools, teachings, and techniques that we can use to enhance our prosperity. And we look at prosperity in the broadest way possible. We look at prosperity not just as money and stuff, but we look at prosperity as God's love made manifest that takes many different forms. We look at family prosperity, where our relationships with our families are uplifting and supportive. We look at logistical prosperity, where our lives just work well, where our lives are easy and effortless with a minimal amount of struggle. We look at professional prosperity, where, in the words of Florence Scovel Shinn, we have a wonderful job with wonderful pay, where we provide a wonderful service in a wonderful way. We look at financial prosperity, where we have all of the resources necessary for us to live comfortable, joyful lives, and we have more than enough to spare and to share. And so our financial flows actually flow and are no longer a source of stress or anxiety. And of course, we look at relationship prosperity, where our relationships of any stripe are uplifting and supportive. But where we look more than in any of those expressions of prosperity is we look within. For we realize that prosperity begins with our inner consciousness. And when our inner consciousness is prosperous, is at peace, is aligned with the benevolent source and force for good, then we vibrate electromagnetically with the loving energy that attracts its reflection in the form of all these prosperities. So our task is to manage and enhance our inner vibration. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to talk about sounding your way to prosperity. Because sound is a way to enhance your vibratory rate, the frequency of your electromagnetic vibration. And one of the spiritual laws, the law of vibration, says that when you vibrate with a certain frequency, you attract a reflection of that frequency, and you are drawn to reflections of that frequency. So the frequency of love, the frequency of light, the frequency of grace, the frequency of peace, the frequency of plenty, that is the frequency that we choose to vibrate with. And we can sound our way into that frequency and thus sound our way into prosperity. So that's what we're going to explore tonight. And I have a very special guest here, Ganesha Das. You may know his face, but I want you to see this light being, Ganesha Das. Welcome, Ganesha.
Hi, Hariom, Tatsat.
Hello. And one
Hi.
of the reasons that I want to share this treasure of the earth, Ganesha Das, with you is because Ganesha has just returned from a 6-month sojourn in India. It was a mystical journey, not unlike the journey of the Beatles. And he has come back transformed. He studied yoga. He studied mysticism. He studied so much more. But not only did he study these things, he became these things: a master yogi, a master teacher, and an even brighter light than ever before, if you can believe that. So, welcome, Ganesha Das.
And thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
We're so glad to have you. So, briefly, how did your 6-month sojourn in India change you, heal you, transform you?
So, I think that my journey in India, it helped me out in many ways
Mm-hmm.
because the first thing that I came up against
Mm-hmm.
is moving from the darkness to the light.
Mm.
This is a big, big, big theme that you'll find in, especially in Rishikesh. That's the city where I was at.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Okay.
is that the focus is on moving from the darkness to the light, from the unreal, from the real to the unreal, and
Mm-hmm.
from the finite to the infinite.
Okay.
And so it's really about removing the barriers that keep
Yes.
us from experiencing how truly connected we are to the God element. There
Mm-hmm.
is a part of us. There is a part of us that just it's been up and it stays up, and
Yes.
it doesn't ever come down. It's
Mm-hmm.
it never it has never seen it's there's a part of us that doesn't know our stories, that there's
Mm-hmm.
a part of us that doesn't know uh,
Our
all of the
limitations.
things, all of the things that we worry about, the things that we stress about. There's
Mm.
a part of us is uh, that is just with us and
Mm.
will always be with us. So I feel like
Is that the part of us that is God?
yes, there's a part of it's yeah, for sure. We
Okay.
have it within us, even in the Bhagavad Gita, it's like the wind is in the sky,
Mm-hmm.
but it is not the sky, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that wind, it falls. So it's similar to us, right? That
Mm-hmm.
element is within us,
Okay.
and it is us,
Okay. Yeah.
and who we are. So I think that's the biggest thing. So I would also say in India, one of the first things that I learned as well was be simple, be humble, be kind.
Mm.
And if you can do those three things in your life, then you immediately start to see how things shift.
Mm.
But what's so interesting about life is we complicate it so much when
Yes.
things really can just be simple. And I feel like one of the ways that we complicate it is through our attachments. You know,
Yes. Mm-hmm.
it's very uncomplicated. It's very uncomplicated to like go into our closet and begin
Right.
to pull out things that we haven't worn in a month of Sundays, 10, 20, 30 years. But we keep
Yes.
it in the closet, we hang on to it. We walk
Uh-huh.
to that closet and we say, "Oh, I have this shirt over here and I kept it because I wore
Yes.
this to my 1995 prom and it just has so much significance for me." And then you
Yes.
roll them into the kitchen and you go into the cabinet and
Yes. It's so fascinating, DeAndrew. We've just done the first 30 lessons in A Course in Miracles. And those first 30 lessons tell us to go around and say, none of this means anything. And the reason the first 30 lessons teach us to do that is because, just like you said, we attach all these stories to everything, and those stories complicate everything. So it sounds to me like you learned three things: be
Yeah.
simple, be kind, and that just sounds like it brought you to a new level of peace and bliss, in addition to all that yoga that you practiced.
Yes. Yes.
Now, how did the yoga take you to the singing bowls and a deeper discovery of the mysticism of sound?
So I would say, I would first say that sound is everywhere in India. It's
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you go. And the
Mm-hmm.
first thing, even before I get to the bowls, very few people know that like whenever you go into a temple in India, before you go in,
Mm-hmm.
there is a bell above
Mm-hmm.
you. So a lot of people think that really sound bowls came from like Nepal or Tibet, but they really originate in India because right over your head, you have these gigantic bells. And
Mm-hmm.
what people used to do is, and what actually not what people used to do, what you'll see some people doing, most people, they just ring it and they run into the temple. But
Mm-hmm.
really, whenever those bells were placed there in temples, ancient temples, they would stand underneath those bells and they would ring them, and they would stand there, and they would allow that
Oh,
vibration to go from the
okay.
crown all the way down to the
Oh.
feet and back up. And that
Mm-hmm.
way, that bell was transmuting anything that the person was coming and bringing into the temple with them, and everybody
Mm-hmm.
could come into the temple at the same vibratory rate. And with the bell, that inspiration came. Is what they did is they brought it down and they turned it around the other way and made it
Oh.
so that whenever you ding it, you can have that vibration and take that vibration with you everywhere you go.
So, in other words, Indian mysticism included ringing the bell to transform your vibratory rate in ways like the ways we are discussing it tonight, to raise your
Absolutely.
vibration and to make you open to more prosperity, because a higher vibrational rate is indicative of being able to attract more of a high vibrational rate. Is that accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So,
what's so interesting, to be honest, like we talk about vibrational rates
mhm,
in sound healing and sound technology. What happens a lot of times is, um, what we think about is synchronizing and entraining the brain. So
okay.
what that means is that somebody comes in with a lot of thoughts, right? They
Mm,
got a lot of thoughts
mhm,
going through their head. We
mhm.
have to synchronize with that frequency and entrain with that frequency, only to take it, to bring it lower, to bring it into a more relaxed state. So
Oh.
whenever you start with that, if there's a, say if that vibration is
Mhm.
at a say if that vibration is at 1,000 hertz or something like that, then we're
Yes.
starting with that higher bowl so that
Mhm,
those frequencies can meet together. And
mhm.
then as I begin to play more of the bowls, I begin to anchor that sound a little bit lower. But I'm not going to be able to do anything with that vibration unless I meet it where it's at.
Okay, okay. So not in other words, not only is sound used to raise our vibration, sound is used almost like a mantra in terms of attuning us to a certain desired vibration. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And what I would say to you also about mantra is, in sound as well too, is that mantra is, it's the secret sauce of India, to be honest. Like
Yes.
if you are
Okay.
if you are this is probably actually one of the most, if you don't take anything away from what I have to share with you tonight, I want you to know this, that
Okay.
mantra is so powerful,
Mm-hmm.
because so many of the mantras in the world, especially the Hindu mantras, the mantras
Mm-hmm.
that I have studied, and also
Mm-hmm.
mantras even, that people typically know, Psalm 23, you could
Right.
consider that a mantra, or you could consider
Exactly.
the Lord's Prayer a mantra.
Mm-hmm.
These things
Mm-hmm.
carry so much power because
Yes.
they have a lineage they have a lineage in which people are tapping into that frequency in
Yes.
order to be able to vibrate higher.
Yes.
What's so amazing, right, is one of the in India, and this is probably the number one most phenomenal, like I started to say phenomenal, and it's absolutely phenomenal. But what I want to say is it's
Mhm.
the most ancient mantra, and it's the most well-known mantra in all of India, and it's
Mhm.
called the Gayatri mantra. I actually have a story from this past weekend about the Gayatri mantra.
Okay.
That the Gayatri mantra is Om Vur Bhuvaha Svaha Tat Savitur Varenyam Bargo Devasya Dhimahi Dio Yona Prachodayat. And it is a mantra of just pure consciousness. And
Mm.
if you allow yourself to be in this consciousness, what it does is it downloads into you this kind of I amness. It downloads into you
Mm.
an opportunity to experience the divine within your own heart, within your own mind.
Mm.
And there's so many things. I can't even really limit it that because there's so much that it actually does. But what I'll say is, if
Mhm.
you go to YouTube right now, you'd probably
Not
you
right now because we have 40 more minutes of show to do.
yeah, exactly. If you went and clicked on it right now, you'd probably find at least 500 to 1,000 people who are on that right now, all chanting to it right now. And what I love so much about mantra is that the more and more that you work with a mantra, the more and more that you allow it, it really changes your brain, because you're
Yes.
waking up in the morning and you're hearing that mantra before you even blink your eyes open. You're
Mhm.
experiencing that mantra throughout the day. Even whenever you
Mhm.
start to get upset, there's a little whisper of that mantra that comes up. And what does that mean simply? Is that in all ways, in all at all times, you are training with sound and with the
Mhm.
mantra to focus
Mhm.
inward, to have an inward experience
Mm.
of life through this
Okay.
mantra.
Wow. So mantra is a special set of sounds with a sacred attunement, and certain mantras are extremely powerful, including mantras like the world's prayer, the Lord's prayer, or the 23rd Psalm, because we tap into a vibrational energy and an intention of the millions, if not billions, of people who have also used that mantra.
Exactly. And when you say millions, billions, and it even goes way beyond that, because
Mm.
it's about the people that we can see and the people that we can't see as well too,
Yes.
because
Yes.
every single one of those people, even if we clicked on YouTube right now, they all have
Yes.
family members and guides and rishis, yogis, saints, sages, and all people who
Yes.
have been chanting this over thousands and millions of years.
Years. Right.
It's really, and I also want to speak to, at the beginning of that Gayatri mantra is
Hmm.
Om, and Om
Is
chant.
that the Sanskrit word for God?
Absolutely. Is a universal sound. It's a sound whenever you go deep into meditation.
Okay.
Whenever the yogis have been able to go super, super, super deep into meditation, oftentimes this is the sound that you will hear. It's the sound of creation that is still the thread throughout all of our life. And what they're
Hmm.
also able to discover, and what the ancient yogis were able to discover as well, is they spell AUM. So it's Aum.
Hmm.
But this is a little one of the things that I learned while I was in India as well is that the A in Aum is for conscious. The
Hmm.
U in Aum is for subconscious. And
Mm.
M in Aum is for the unconscious.
Okay.
The yogi's journey is to move from the conscious experience of life to the
Hmm.
unconscious experience of life. And what
Mm.
is the unconscious experience of life, right? The best way I can explain, it's a state that's called samadhi. And
Hmm.
samadhi in the limbs of yoga, whenever you start with the ethics, how you show up in the world. You show up in the world nonviolent. And then when you get to the highest part of yoga, it's a state that's called samadhi. And samadhi is basically where your identity is gone. Everything about you washes away. Everything
Okay.
that every
In
cloud.
other words, the place where your ego dissolves into the one. Would that be accurate?
Absolutely. And it dissolves.
Okay.
And what I can also say is that sometimes we glimpse into that space. We glimpse into that space whenever there's a song by Eminem. It's called "You Better Lose
Lose yourself.
Yourself in the
You better
Music
lose yourself
Moment." You
in the
want
music and the moment.
right? So there's a state whenever you're in the, you know what I mean. Whenever you're in that state, that
Yes.
you're not you're not thinking, you're not analyzing, and it's just coming forth, and you're just
Yes.
blank. You're
Okay.
you're just like that.
Yes. So let me summarize this for our viewers in a wonderful way that comports with uh, our prosperity journey. When we use mantra, it sounds like, and any mantra or any sound, it attunes us to a certain vibration. And certain mantras like Aum attune us to our highest expression of ourselves at one with God. And in merging with, being as our highest expression of ourselves at one with God, God is simply creative energy, creative force. And so that is one way that we can enhance our ability to experience the prosperity, the love, the peace, the joy, the light that is God. And all else
Absolutely.
is added unto us when we experience that kingdom of heaven. So thank you. That is a wonderful way for us to start the program. Now I'm sure our viewers have some questions for us. So we're going to go to break and give our viewers an opportunity to type in their questions, or even just say hello and let us know you're there.
Also, can I say hi? Anybody that's there, I don't know. Has anyone?
They're
Um,
here. So
Hi,
say,
hello,
tell them
hello,
hi.
hello.
Okay. And we're going to go to break now here on the Miracle of Prosperity.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
Please help us say thank you to our organizational sponsors, including the Hefferland Foundation, Affiliated New Thought Network, International New Thought Alliance, Science of Mind Archives and Library Foundation, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown, New Thought Philadelphia, Planned Happiness Institute, Summit Center for Spiritual Living, One Heart Retreats, Center for Spiritual Living on the Lake, Unity Kitchener, Unity Spiritual Center Ottawa, Om Center for Spiritual Living, Satya Center, Begin Within Ministries, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, Unity of Savannah, and the Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, as well as all of our individual donors. Thank you for being part of the New Thought Media Network. Please like, share, and subscribe. New Thought Media Network. Positively inspiring.
And we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity with our special guest, Ganesha Das. Now, it's fascinating, Ganesha, that you are a trained musician here in the States. And so you already had a strong and powerful background as a musician, as a singer, as a piano player, as a music teacher, etc. And then you went to India, and one of the things that you explored was the power of sound, the power of chanting, the power of the voice. Now, how do you put those together for our viewers in a way that they can practically use sound to enhance their vibration, to adjust their vibration in order to allow more prosperity?
Well, there's many things that you can do. You don't have to be a trained musician or a singer
Mhm.
or play piano there's so many things that you can do in order to harness the power of sound healing for yourself. To be honest, the first thing that you can do is you can hum.
Hmm.
Humming is incredibly powerful and it's incredibly beneficial for you, especially whenever you're using it, you're combining it with what you're intending, because the voice is the first instrument in the entire world. And it's the most powerful instrument in the entire world. Your voice, it has the power to create and it has the power to destroy. And what I feel like with your voice is that if you want to really begin with sound healing, even just humming and thinking about the divine within you, thinking about the energy source that exists within you, and humming and allowing yourself to just go
Huh. Hmm.
even just
So,
sitting and doing that for a few minutes a day, 5-10 minutes a day. It
mhm,
works wonders on your brain. And then whenever, say that you would want to combine that in yoga, there's a pranayama. It's called Brahmari pranayama, and it's called a B sound. And essentially, what you're doing is you can just start very simply by just plugging your ears. It's kind of like how whenever you were younger and somebody was doing something to you, and then you just go, no, 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 I can't hear you, I can't hear you, anything like that. But it's
mhm.
actually very, very powerful for you to just make a B sound. And you
So
close your
these are sacred attunements that you can do to heal yourself and to move into a vibration that is more conducive to your good. Is that accurate?
absolutely. So what
Okay.
what's happening is it's really allowing you to drown out anything that's going on outside of you, because whenever you
Mm.
do this long enough, and to
Mhm,
be honest, we had times where we do this for a significant, we would build out the amount of time that we would do it, and there's more
mhm,
significant times. The more significantly, say if that's the only thing that you want to work on, that only thing that you want to build up, you're going to
mhm,
experience some profound shifts, even just doing something as simple as that.
hmm. So, in other words, using sound to enhance your vibratory rate or to uh, create a vibratory rate conducive to prosperity is easy.
Absolutely. The other thing that I want to say is about brain entrainment and
Mhm,
about using sound is that everybody listens to music, right? We
mhm.
listen to
Right.
music and we listen to songs all day long. But what I
Yes.
will say is that you have to be very careful about the songs that you are allowing to be the theme track of your life. If
Mm-hmm.
you're upset and you have a particular song that you're gravitating towards, you want to make sure that those lyrics aren't keeping the same sad story kind of continuing to be the soundtrack through you. I feel like we
Yes.
all have the
In other words, avoid "Good Morning Heartache" by Billie Holiday.
absolutely, absolutely. And what I want to say, I also want to address this because when we study sound healing, we talk a
Uh-huh.
lot about the states of consciousness.
Yes.
So you should know about like the alpha state, the beta state, the theta state, and the delta state. And I just want to just
Mm-hmm.
clarify those for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So the alpha state is the state of the yogi, right? It is a
Mm-hmm.
state of awareness. So you are aware of life,
Mm-hmm.
and but it is passive. You're not
Mm-hmm.
doing anything, which makes it the ultimate meditative state. And
Okay.
what's so interesting is we often enter the alpha state about
Mm-hmm.
10 minutes after we wake up. And
Mm-hmm.
we also come into the alpha state right before we're going to bed as well, which means that we can use sound and
Mm-hmm.
to be able to entrain us and to be able to lift and shift and move around things in our life at those specific times. So if there is a favorite song that you have that is very uplifting for you,
Mm-hmm.
then those times right after you're waking up will be the perfect time. Say if you want to put a Bill Withers "Lovely Day" on, and
Mm-hmm.
uh you want to have that synchronized to your phone to wake you up at that specific time with "Lovely
Uh-huh.
Day," you will begin to see how that bleeds into
Mm.
every part of your day. And that
Wow.
is also becoming your mantra. Or if you're going to bed and say that you have if you're going to bed and you have some sort of lullaby that you want to put on, something really really soft, something
Mm.
gentle that's pulling you
Mhm.
into sleep, that's going to really do wonders to help you to relieve stress so that you don't take it with you into bed, and
Mm.
I have a story about that as well that I feel really called to share. Is before I was going to India, I actually won a retreat with a Reiki master. We were supposed to go to Hawaii. We ended up in Puerto Rico, and this
Mm.
this Reiki master that I went with, she was so talented. And
Mhm.
I was downstairs, and I was on my phone, and I was arguing with someone. I had bought something from their store, and I was so irritated because I bought something from their
Yeah.
store. They were
Yeah.
posting something on Instagram that I didn't really like. And
Mhm.
I'm gonna tell you, I was sitting there going with it. And then the
Mhm.
next morning I go upstairs, and she was so clear to me. She was just like, "Who are you arguing with last night?" I said, "I wasn't arguing with nobody. What you mean?" She said, "We can stay here all day, or you can tell me who you were arguing with last night because
No. Yeah.
because I had to work on your heart all night long." And
Mm.
my jaw dropped because
Mm.
that little bit of whatever I was doing with my phone
Mhm.
before going to bed, they were able to pick up on. And it showed me,
Right.
I just feel like maybe this is for someone that's here, is if you have an opportunity to use sound to
Mm.
absolve anything from the day that
Yeah.
has been stored in your brain, to do that so that you don't go to bed with those emotions, so that your heart is not hardened overnight as you are sleeping with those emotions and taking it into the next day with you and the day after that.
Mm. Brilliant. Now, what just occurred to me is that we can use sound to and mantra to work with certain lessons in A Course in Miracles. In certain lessons in A Course in Miracles, they say, do this every hour on the hour, just to, as you say, Ganesha, to entrain your brain. Can we
Yes,
like hum the lesson and use the lesson as a mantra? What do you think?
absolutely, absolutely. Because what's so interesting about the sound with the words is that the sound is acting like a vehicle for the words to find themselves embedded in your consciousness even
Mm.
deeper.
The sound is a train that takes the word deeper into your consciousness.
Absolutely. So
Okay.
and so that's why, that's why these songs that stick with us. I'm telling you, I have been able to, sing the alpha, the states in order from
Mhm.
Alabama all the way to Wyoming, based off
Since childhood.
since childhood. And
Yes.
people, what I mean, if they were learning that in a way of just reciting it, I'm sure that 99% of the people would not have kept up with it. But I learned it as a song, and it has stayed with me to this day, that I can
Mhm.
go all 50 states.
Mhm. Wow. So, in other words, sing your lessons and they will entrain the brain the same way.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Like,
Absolutely. And with every catchphrase,
mhm.
um I, you know, I, it even comes down to what's that song? What's that song that the rent, ain't nothing going on but the
Well, but
rent.
the rent,
You got to
you
have a
gotta
job
have a job
if you
if
want
you
to be
want to
with me.
be with me.
Yeah.
No romance without finance. And my favorite line is right before the song begins when she says, "Bill collectors at my door. What can you do for me?" Gwen Guthrie, 1982, 1983. Nothing
And
but
it's
great.
so and it's so and but what the reason why that song came up as well is because not only do you remember that song based on how the sound has carried that song into your heart, those
Yes.
are phrases that you begin to use. And your girlfriend comes over to the house, or your friend comes over, and they're like, "What's going on, man? Ain't nothing going on but the rent. You got to have a job to be. You got, you know what I mean?" And it gets to be like that. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? But if
Yes.
we just reimagine that for the things that
Hmm.
we want to invite into our life, the
Yes.
things that the miracles that we can bring in, that is extremely powerful.
Wow.
Method for us being able to manifest our good.
Brilliant. So, in other words, sing your lessons, sing your prosperity, sing your desire, and let that let that train your brain, pun entirely intended, because what you're doing is you're taking that information, that intention, and that vision like a train. It's traveling through your brain and through your central nervous system when you sing it or when you hum it.
Absolutely.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Wow. Wonderful. So we can sound our way to prosperity.
Yes, in
Wonderful.
many ways.
In so many ways.
And
Wonderful.
I will also add that just like a conch shell, one of the biggest things that are all in India, when you go to a temple, when you go to any type of ceremony, or what may be called a puja, at the beginning of the ceremony, they will often have a conch shell, which is like a big seashell. And this dates
Yes.
back thousands of years.
Hmm.
And what they will do, especially in the temples, is they will blow and hold this note out for a long
Yes.
time. And what
Yes.
happens, what happens is anything that's within the electromagnetic radius of the vibration and the sound of this conch shell
Hmm.
also receives that healing, that transmutation,
Yeah.
all of those things. And
Hmm.
that's what I loved about my experience in the temples, is because what you have when you go into the temples is you have first the bell that I was talking about before. You go
Hmm.
in and you have the conch that you are
Hmm.
playing, that has been
Yes.
played, that's also clearing out. You have mantras that you are chanting for an hour to an hour and a half. You have the
Hmm.
mridanga, which is this double-sided, it's a double-sided drum, which is
Hmm.
also sending healing vibrations through the beat coming out to you. And you
Hmm.
also have what's called the harmonium, which is it's a type of piano. The best way I can say it, it's like a piano with a with something attached to the back of it that you
Mm-hmm.
fan, and you just fan in all of the energy in order to play it, and it creates this really, really unique sound
Mm.
um, for our healing as well. And then if you're going, say if you're going to like a ISKCON temple where it's dedicated to Krishna, you'll hear like the flute. You'll hear these beautiful flutes.
Yes.
And all of these are working towards, and what's so interesting is this what I want to tell you. This is what I want to tell you about bhajans. A bhajan, okay, in Vedic culture in India, is essentially, it's a mantra and it's a song. And many of the bhajans, they always start out very slowly. And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, 10, 15, 20 minutes go by. It has
Mm-hmm.
been this slow train that just starts revving up
Mm.
more and more and more and more.
Mm.
And
Mm-hmm.
before you know it, you have the entire room in such
Mm.
ecstatic devotion. And that right
Mm.
there is the word that I want to say. And I want this to be very clear to everybody that's listening to me. The
Mm-hmm.
number one word that you should know, especially in terms of mantra, in terms of sound, is devotion. Whatever
Mm.
you're listening to, whatever you're reciting, whatever you're expressing, whatever you're singing, in a way, you are creating a level of devotion in your body and in your mind too. And a lot of
Yes.
times, and in the temples that I've gone to, there may be one specific mantra that everyone knows, and everyone joins in this energy of devotion to this specific mantra, which only magnifies the healing energy that is present in that room every single time. And I couldn't tell you how many miracles, different things that happen, and synchronicities that happen in people's lives. And I'm a witness to experiencing this in my own
Mm-hmm.
life. That
Mm-hmm.
happens when all of these different elements of sound are produced in one space.
Yes, wonderful. Which is why in many spiritual services we do music and chanting and group responsive readings and stuff. Now it all makes a lot more sense. We're not just doing this by rote. We're using sound, we're using voice, we're using word to attune as tools for sacred attunement, all with the intention of increasing and enhancing our prosperity by magnifying our experience, by bouncing our energy off of other energies to magnify that energy.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. So you have treated us to so much good stuff tonight, and we thank you. So we're going to take a break, but stay with us because we've got some questions and comments that we're going to address next
Thank you.
here on the New Thought Media Network.
People of African Descent New Thought Group proudly presents Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village, Thursday, August 1st through Sunday, August 4th. Some of our greatest keynote speakers, some of our finest musicians and vocalists, some of our amazing and experienced panelists, and some of our fabulous masterclass presenters will be there for you at Celebrating Our Soul, Consciously Creating Change at Unity Village this summer. Regular registration ends June 30th, so don't delay. Register today at padntg.com. Sponsorship opportunities are available at padntg.com. Volunteer opportunities are available at padntg.com. Go there now, padntg.com. See you there.
we're back here on the Miracle of Prosperity on the New Thought Media Network. So we have some questions and comments. Everybody is marveling about your transformation, Ganesha Das. And Deanna at 8:43 had a question that I'm sure is on the minds of everyone.
Thanks so much for this wonderful enlightenment. Do you have an opinion about various practices, such as using Tibetan chants as mantras? So I can't speak to the Tibetan chants as mantras. The chants that I have studied come from the Hindu and Vedic pantheon, I guess you could say. Um, but what I will say is that all mantras that you find that you resonate with are going to be the most powerful for you because this is your experience. And so if you have one that you're inclined, that you've been thinking about, or you've heard before, I know also in Buddhist, they have Lokaha Somasta Sukhino Bhavantu. It's a lovely mantra for world peace. If you find yourself really gravitating to a mantra, I would strongly encourage you to use that. It's so interesting. When I was in India as well, too, it can get you see people that seem annoyed by it, but for the most part, on one street, whenever I was walking in Rishikesh, they sat outside like a boombox or a CD player, and every single time from 24 hours, this particular CD shop would only play one version of Om Namah Shivaya. And you see people sometimes be like, can I play another song? But most people, they have absorbed it into their consciousness so much around that it brings them so much joy. And it's like, if it wasn't playing at this point, what is going wrong,
They
right?
would say, "What's wrong?"
What's
Yes.
wrong? But I would say to you is get yourself to the point where you love your mantra so much and you spend so much time with it, and then you get to this point where it starts to irritate you because you've heard the same thing over and over and over. And just when you get to that point is when you need to continue listening to your mantra till it becomes so absorbed in you that it just continues to show up over and over and over. Because number one, and what I want to say to this is number one source of problem, according to the yogis and everyone that I've studied with since I've been on, is simply an error in our thoughts. And the moment that we can reel our thoughts away from our anger, our envy, our greed, our jealousy, our this thing or that thing, the moment when we can retune and rewire our thinking away from whatever happens, that rewiring is done with mantra. Mantra means mind tool. It's a tool to use to control the mind, to control the fluctuations of the mind. So whenever your mind fluctuates, whenever you know that you are 5'8", and somebody comes up to you and they say, "How tall are you?" And you say 5'9". What was the purpose of adding 1 extra inch to how tall you are? It's little stuff like that. It's little fluctuations of the mind where the mantra pulls you back in to shift you before you get ready to say that little lie that you thought nobody caught on to. And so this is the thing that I'll tell you. That's the most powerful thing is if you find that mantra, if you're drawn to Tibetan mantras, go with it and listen to it over and over, over and over and over and over and over.
Now, I have a question for you, Ganesha. Do you have to know what the words mean, or are you simply tapping into the energetic vibration that indicates the word based on all the millions of people who have used that mantra?
Well, you better know what it means because you don't want to know what they're saying about you. I'm just they ask that question all the time with people who go to other countries and stuff like that, and they get something tattooed in another language on them, and they say, "Well, how that's what they said?" Stuff like that. But what I will say what I will say is you will get the effect of the mantra regardless, whether you
Regardless.
know it, regardless. It is so
Mm.
because it's beyond, it's beyond everything. So what I
Yes.
will say is if you don't know what it means, you are still tapping into the energetic frequency of what it means. Now, what I do want to say is just like our wishes and the things that we want to manifest, the things that
Mhm.
we want to manifest and the things that we want to bring into our life, they only come by way of our mind heart connection. I gotta. It's kind of like how you say, Reverend Jim Webb. It's like you gotta feel it to heal it, right?
Mhm.
But
Yep.
like whenever we're drawing things into our experience, my heart has to be deeply in alignment, with this thing, what's going on inside
Yes.
of me, in order
Yes.
to in order to see um in order to see that manifestation. So
Mhm.
that's what I will say about um that's what I will say about mantras is
Mhm.
you want to have this really really beautiful heart connection to what you're experiencing for things to really work. And so what I say by that is that you can have a deeper experience of the mantra by learning every single one of those words. You can have a deeper experience of the mantra with the correct pronunciation. That's the other
Oh.
thing. You don't want
Mm.
to these mantras become even more powerful by your devotion to say it correctly. You can say
Mm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger, can't you? So
Mhm.
you need to take the time
Mm.
to make sure that you say each and every single one of these words so precisely, because even that within itself is a level of devotion. You are signaling to the universe that my heart is so open to the miracles that are infused with this mantra that I am willing not to make sure that each and every single one of these words from the tip of my tongue and the taste of that mantra in my mouth is
Mm.
fitting, that I may be able to draw all of the energies and all of the sacred energies of it. Because if
Mm.
you're not committing yourself 100% to that mantra, there's a part of your mind that actually believe it doesn't work and it won't work
Mm.
for you. And
Mm.
where else in your life is that showing up? Where else in your life are you not fully committing yourself to something because you don't think it's going to work for you? You need to allow yourself to be fully in the mantra, fully in whatever you are telling yourself and saying yourself in order to experience and reap the full benefit of it.
In other words, devote yourself to your mantra. To devote yourself to your mantra is to devote yourself to your healing, is to devote yourself to your prosperity. And the through line is devotion.
Absolutely. And what I would add to what you just said as well is you're devoting yourself to your mantra, and your mantra begins to devote itself to you. It takes
Mm.
on that energy of devoting
Mhm.
itself to you. So even if it's almost like not brushing your teeth. That's We got to get it to the point where it's
Yeah.
just like you're running around the house and you might not have had your keys, but you are definitely not going to make sure that you forget to brush your teeth or take a shower before. Whenever you wake up in the morning or you've been to the gym or something like that, there's just this icky feeling that just starts to come over
Yeah.
you, that it's
Okay.
like I haven't had my shower yet. And for me, that's with yoga, right? Like if I
Mhm.
haven't done yoga or if I haven't spent my day with a shower, my body, my mind, everything about my patterning and my conditioning starts to tell me now at this point, what's going on? You haven't done your yoga yet. So let's figure that out. So that's
Yes.
the best way I can explain that with mantra.
Wonderful. And speaking of devotion, if you are ready to devote yourself to your prosperity and manifesting the desires of your heart, we have an 8-week devotional, 2 classes. The first being Spirit Speaks More on Prosperity, which is a channel class where the masters will speak directly to you based on your questions and share with you your individual guidance for how you can manifest more of your heart's desires. And that's for 8 weeks on Mondays, beginning tomorrow. And I actually have kind of 1.5, 2 openings left for that. So if you're hearing this, the day of, I get people at 4 o'clock saying, "Is your class still open?" And it won't be open if you call right now. But if you call at 4 o'clock tomorrow, it will be closed. I can guarantee you that. Um, so this begins tomorrow. Spirit speaks more on manifestation. And the reason that it's important to be in group is because, as Ganesha Das said, when you are together with others, you enhance and maintain your vibratory rate. You expand your vibratory rate exponentially. So on Mondays, we do Spirit Speaks More on manifestation with a whole lot of new information on how you can manifest. And then on Thursdays, we're doing more manifestation methods, because not only has Spirit been downloading more information on manifestation, Spirit has been downloading more manifestation methods as well. And so on Thursdays, we will work with these methods. And in group, you will get coaching, you will get guidance and support, and you will learn these new manifestation methods and customize them to what it is that you choose to manifest. And these 2 classes are 2 for the price of 1. And this 8-week intensive, this 8-week devotional, we'll call it, where you devote yourself to your manifestation so that every part of you chooses to manifest this. It includes a free 20-minute manifestation consultation with me as well. So there's a lot in this package, and it's designed to help you to manifest your heart's desires. It begins tomorrow at 7:30. If you need more information, check out my website or text me. I have 1.5, 2. I call it 1.5 because I'm adding an extra slot, because generally there's one person a week who can't make it. So I'm going to open an extra slot, 1.5, 2 slots available, but they won't be available tomorrow. So if it is of interest to you, call now. And I want to thank you, Ganesha. I want you, when we this is live on my Facebook page, and there are comments. I want you in the comments to tell everybody what took you to India, what guided you to India, and I want you to answer some of the other questions in the comments so we can keep this dialogue going. But for now, I want to thank you for being with us tonight, and I want to thank our audience for a wonderful show. Thank you for a wonderful show. Everybody have a wonderful evening here on the New Thought Media Network.